New York Giants Week 6 game preview. We have the Washington football team that go to MetLife Stadium to face the Giants. 1-4 is Washington. The Giants are 0-5, as we know. Washington's coming off a 4-game losing streak, basically. So two teams that have not won in a while. These two played a thrilling matchup last year, Week 16 in Washington. We called it like the Chase Young Bowl. The loser got Chase Young. Washington has him now. And that leads us to our first point of the Giants offense. So I wanted to mention the Giants are 2.5-point favorites. First time they've been favored all year. I personally have the Giants winning this game. Don't let me down again, please. Anyway, so the Thomas versus Young matchup. So the number 2 pick of this year's draft against number 4, Andrew Thomas, Chase Young. That will be an interesting one. And Chase Young, he got hurt towards the middle of this year. I think weeks like 3 and 4 maybe he was out. I think he came back last week. Didn't look 100%, but don't count out Chase Young. He's a tremendous talent, was picked second overall for a reason. He looked really good the first 2 weeks when he was in there. So watch out for him. Andrew Thomas has had his struggles this year. I'd be lying if I said I was not concerned about that matchup, but we'll have to see. Big test for Thomas once again. He has to step up in this matchup. Washington's defense has allowed 129 rushing yards per game, which is a lot. That's not a good number for them. But my theory is that they are 1-4. They've suffered some blowout losses this year. My theory is that a lot of times in the fourth quarter, even second half, teams probably run the ball a lot more than they usually would. So maybe that skews the numbers a bit and makes their rush defense look worse than it actually is. I don't know. But still, rushing-wise, they have not been a good defense this year, Washington, despite having the good front seven. Washington allows 226.8 passing yards per game. That's a good number. That's in the top third of the league, I believe. So they have some talented cornerbacks. Their safeties, I mean, they have Landon Collins. I don't think their other safeties that special, but Kendall Fuller has been a great cornerback for them this year. He's just played at an elite level, honestly. Their defensive line is pretty scary. We'll go over it real quick. So they have guys like Chase Young, as I mentioned, Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne, Montez Sweat, a guy the Giants could have taken back in the 2019 draft, who's gotten off to a good start, gets to the quarterback pretty consistently. So even Ryan Kerrigan's like a rotational guy for them now. Watch out for him as well. This defensive line it's pretty good. It is, I don't know if it's a top 3, top 5 unit, but it's probably top 10 in the NFL, so I would not sleep on them. The Giants' offensive line probably has a tough task in this one regarding that. So you got to get Devontae Freeman going, as I've mentioned, about the rushing yards per game allowed for them. This would be a good spot for the Giants to establish a run here early, hopefully have some success. They showed some success against the Dallas Cowboys. It wasn't the greatest game for them rushing-wise, but still, as compared to what we saw the first 2 weeks when they couldn't run the ball for their lives, it is looking a lot better. So hopefully they get Devontae Freeman going. Wayne Gallman's had a couple of nice runs so far when he's been in there, so we'll see. Please involve Evan Engram. So if there's one place you can exploit this Washington defense, it's probably their linebackers, and even one of their safeties, Landon Collins, as we know. So their linebackers, Kevin Pierre-Louis, John Bostic, Cole Holcomb, I don't even think he plays. Thomas Davis plays, so that's one. Thomas Davis is probably like 38 years old. So their linebackers honestly don't scare me too much. I think Pierre-Louis is a decent player, but still, their linebackers don't scare me. This is the right kind of game to involve Evan Engram. If you're going to plan this game and play it to your opponent's weakness, I think using Evan Engram is probably a good idea in this spot. And even Caden Smith, a guy I forgot to mention, had a good game against Washington last year. I think had 2 touchdowns, including a game winner in overtime, so watch out for him. As I mentioned earlier, Washington's cornerback, Kendall Fuller, has been elite. He's always been a good corner. He was like great one year. I think 2017 might have been great. Was pretty good the last like 2 or 3 years, but then this year has all of a sudden turned into once again a shutdown and elite cornerback. So it might be a tough day for Slayton. We'll see, but all it takes is one big play for a guy like Slayton, so we've got to watch out for that. I mentioned the linebackers being the weakest unit on defense. Jason Garrett needs to build off Week 5. I was pretty impressed for the most part with what Jason Garrett did in Week 5. I mean, he had some more creative play calls. I'm not really a fan of the wide receiver route concept still, but hopefully those things sort themselves out somehow. But yeah, I want to get Evan Engram more involved. That's like the one thing I would say to try and change what we did from last week as compared to this week. Because outside of that, I think Jason Garrett called a decent game. It wasn't really that bad. I would not blame him for the loss at Dallas. Give me some Austin Mack. Austin Mack, the undrafted free agent from Ohio State. A lot of Ohio State guys in this game, I feel like. I mean, Terry McLaurin, of course, Dwayne Haskins is benched. That doesn't count. But still, Austin Mack's a former teammate of those guys. So, yeah, I would like to see him play. He was called up for that Rams game. I don't even think he saw the field, at least, for an offensive snap. Maybe special teams if I missed it. Actually, no, he didn't suit up for that game. They called him up but didn't suit him up. It was weird. So, Austin Mack, I think, will be active for this game. I've seen enough Ratley. He's gone. CJ Board, we know what he is. He doesn't have the upside. So, I would like to play Austin Mack a little bit. We know the Giants have 2 receivers in Tate and Slayton, and right now Shepard's out. So right now you have an opportunity for a guy like Austin Mack to play outside. He's 6'1", a good route runner, as I mentioned, pretty good hands. I say give him a shot. What's the worst that can happen? You're 0-5, And in exclamation point, no turnovers. Please. I mean, we can't turn the ball over against a team like this. And not to say Washington's good, but this is the type of game where you want to go slow and run down the clock, trust your defense. But you handing over points to Washington is not going to help. Don't give them a defensive touchdown. Don't give them an interception to put them inside, your 20. Don't do anything stupid field position wise. You want to win the field position battle in a game like this. Don't give them easy field position for an offense that's probably going to struggle. So no turnovers is a big one for me. We'll now get into the Giants defense in this game. The Giants defense let up a good amount of points last week, but still solid against a team like Dallas that's been great on offense this year. So Kyle Allen is starting at quarterback for them. I wasn't honestly sure who was starting for them beginning of the week. I don't know if it was going to be Alex Smith or Kyle Allen. If you watched Washington last week, they started Kyle Allen after they benched Haskins. Then Allen took a pretty mean hit in his head, like going on the sideline. They put in Alex Smith, and that was pretty nerve-wracking. I kind of was wincing when I was watching him. I was like, oh, don't get hurt. But Kyle Allen, he was cleared for that game. They decided to stick with Alex Smith. Obviously, he's not too injured, so he's going to be playing in this game and starting. We'll see if he makes it through the whole game because they might be in a point, Washington, where they don't know who their quarterback is, and they might keep flip-flopping between those guys. But we'll see. I think Kyle Allen's decent. He does turn the ball over, though. I think he had like 16 interceptions last year, 17 touchdowns, 16 picks. I made a video about the Panthers recently, or not Terry McLaurin, about Dwayne Haskins. And Kyle Allen's stats, turnover-wise, was not that good. So he's the type of quarterback you can get turnovers on. Antonio Gibson, the rookie running back out of Memphis, I think a third-round pick, and Terry McLaurin, another third-round pick, I believe. They are the playmakers to keep an eye on. Those are the really main catalysts for this offense. Outside of McLaurin, Washington doesn't have a great receiver. I feel like I wrote down guys like Dontrell Inman, who was like a journeyman receiver in this league. I think he played for the Colts, the Chargers. Not too afraid of him, but don't let them, let those guys beat you. Don't let the McLaurins and Gibson beat you. Logan Thomas is a tight end that is an athletic guy. He has a lot of upside, but he's had like 2 catches the last 2 weeks, I feel like. I don't know. It hasn't been that great for him. There was some noise about him in like fantasy football form, but still, he has not really came to fruition yet. So, the Giants have been better against tight ends this year, I will say that, as compared to years past. That's kind of trending in the right direction, I feel like, so that is good. But yeah, I don't want to have guys like, I don't want to see Terry McLaurin go for like 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. That would kind of annoy me. I feel like Bradbury will do a good job on him if he shadows him across the field, and hopefully he does, but don't let him beat you. Let somebody else beat you is what I have to say about that. Washington's offensive line, wow, it has struggled a lot recently. They let up, I don't know how many, 8 sacks maybe against the Rams last week. I think Donald had 4. Some other guy I never heard of had 3. So, the Rams were in the backfield all day. Washington's offense looked terrible in that game. And I know the Giants don't have the pass rush that the Rams have. They don't have that talent that the Rams have on their defensive side of the ball. But at the same time, if they can get 8 sacks, then why can't we get like 4 or 5? The Giants have that potential here. Kyle Allen does have some mobility, so just because you get in the backfield does not mean it's an automatic sack. But at the same time, their offensive line is greatly struggling. I mean, I know Sheriff is pretty good at right guard. I don't even know if he's playing. I feel like he might have been injured, but no, he's in. I think he's playing. Morgan Moses is pretty good at right tackle. I mean, he has had a nice career. I don't know if he's good right now because he might be declining, but nobody else on this offensive line I don't think is really worth worrying about. So that is a good thing for the Giants defense right there. They should be in the backfield, should be able to get to the quarterback. They rank 30th in the run blocking departments so far by Football Outsiders, their offensive line, and 31st in pass blocking. So the Giants defensive line with their talented players of Leonard Williams, Dalvin Tomlinson, and Dexter Lawrence should have a nice day and push the line, but we'll have to see. Great spot for the Giants pass rushers. Mentioned that one. McLaurin versus Bradbury, touched on that one. Bradbury, just keep doing what you're doing. That's basically what I have to say about that one. They like to do dump-offs to their running back. They have a guy named J.D. McKissick, a former Seattle Seahawk. I feel like he played somewhere else last year. I don't even know. But he's basically just one of those scat backs that's a receiver. He does not really run in between the tackles too much, maybe a couple times a game. But he's one of those, kind of like Chris Thompson was for the Washington. They were the Redskins at the time, but now, Washington, now Thompson's on the Jaguars. But he's kind of playing that role of just being like a straight-up receiver and not really being like a running back. But he does play at a running back position, so the Giants linebackers have to be aware of him. They'll throw some balls out to him in the flat, try and make some guys miss. The Giants have to wrap him up, of course. 4. So, he's one of those guys, McKissick, that on like third and medium, third and long, he might make a linebacker miss in the flat and then convert a first down. So don't let that stuff happen. Keep an eye on him. David Mayo, the linebacker used for depth reasons, a decent special teamer. Started a lot of games for us last year after the Conley injury. He is back, I believe, off IR. He has not played yet this year. I forget. I think he had like a torn meniscus or partially torn meniscus. Opted for a surgery that would get him back on the field quicker. We're here in week 6 and he's back, so that's good. We'll see how much he plays. I prefer Tate Crowder, honestly. I think there's just more upside there. We know what David Mayo is. Hopefully Crowder gets to play more. But it would not surprise me if the Giants went to the veteran. So we'll see. But I personally want Tate Crowder to play more. So how do they rotate the safeties this week? That is the interesting question. So they had Adrian Colbert. They have Jabril Peppers was kind of like in and out last week. I think they were trying to ease him back in after the injury. And then a guy like Julian Love did not play like at all last week. So I'm kind of interested to see what they do. Colbert wasn't too impressive. I just remember he had 2 penalties for headhunting in that game. That's basically all I remember from him. Julian Love, I think, got flat out benched. We talked about why. I think it was because he let up that big play against the Rams. But does he get another shot here? We'll see. I think Peppers plays a lot. Do they put Logan Ryan at safety some plays? Maybe, but I don't know if it's going to be Colbert the whole time. I kind of hope not, but I guess we will find out about that one. And score prediction. So if you watched my show with the Entertainer, I think it was yesterday, we went on for like an hour and 50 minutes, so if you missed it, I get it, but at the end we did score predictions. I chose the Giants to win this game, as I mentioned before. I picked 20-16. I know 36 is not the highest, over-under, basically, but at the same time, neither of these offenses are that potent and that great. So I think the Giants are a team that they do struggle to score 20 most weeks. We've seen that. But, this is a matchup last year where the score was 38-35. I know it was in Washington. The game at home in week 4, I think it was a pretty high-scoring affair as well. But the offenses are a bit different. The Giants have a new OC. They don't have Saquon Barkley this time around. So things are a bit different. They don't have Sterling Shepard this time around as well. Washington, of course, different quarterback. I think Haskins played that Week 16 game. They had Haskins and Keenum play in that other Week 4 game last year. That was Haskins' first game action, and Peppers picked him off for an interception. Got a pick 6 on him. Welcome to the NFL moment. So, it could be high scoring based on what we saw last year, but just based on what we've seen from these offenses so far this year. New coaching staff once again for Washington, so just 2 new offensive systems. I think Scott Turner is the offensive coordinator for Washington and came over from the Panthers. So, it might take a little while for them to gel and get things right. And it's not like Washington has the most talent on offense. They clearly don't. I fear only 2 players on that team, and usually I respect our opponents, but, I'm not to say I don't respect Washington, but, I don't respect their playmakers as much as I do for other teams, like the past 2 weeks. You compare the Rams and Cowboys offenses as compared to this Washington team, it's a night and day difference. You know what I mean? So not to say they can't put up 25, points on us, because they definitely could. But at the same time, I just think they don't have the playmakers that these other teams we played have. So I'm just being honest. So the Giants hopefully win this game. I treated this before. If they lose this one, probably a good chance they start off 0-8, or was it 0-9? I think 0-8, because I think after this is Philly on a short week. Thursday they play Philly, unless the schedule changes, of course, you never know. And then after that is Tampa Bay on a Monday night, I think. Monday Night Football, I'm pretty sure. So, Philly, Tampa, probably not games the Giants are going to win. So if they can go 1-5 here and just get their first win and get Joe Judge's first win and get that out of the way, that would be great. Good time to get your first win, because I don't want to start off 0-8 and turn this into another laughing stock of a season. Now, of course, getting Trevor Lawrence sounds like a great idea, but still, I don't want to lose yet. We're only in week 6, So, hopefully they find a way. I do have them winning. Leave your score prediction in the comments. Once again, I said this last week, but big spot for Daniel Jones. You do have no excuses here. The only way I can see this game having excuses for him is if the offensive line is just terrible, which I guess could happen if Andrew Thomas is a complete train wreck at left tackle against Chase Young. Maybe we can make some excuses here, but there's no reason why Jones can't put up a solid game of 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. This is not the scariest defense you're ever going to play. So last year he had 5 touchdowns and 300-something yards against them. So I figured this would be a good spot to do it. He played well against them last year. Let's do it again, and hopefully he regains some of that magic he played with last year towards the end of the year against Washington. So that'll do it for this video. I predict the Giants win. It doesn't happen often, so let's embrace that one. But hopefully they do win, and I'll talk to you guys Sunday after the game. I don't know when it'll be out, probably more towards the, more towards the night because I like to watch the games in the afternoon, but there's only 2 4 o'clock games this week, so maybe it'll be earlier. I don't know. We'll see. But turn the notifications on if you want to see it. But I will talk to you guys next time. Hopefully you enjoyed it once again. Leave your score prediction in the comments, and I will talk to you after the game.